Freedom of speech is a cornerstone to the basic rights afforded to every American. But what exactly is protected speech when it comes to the First Amendment? It can be sometimes confusing to differentiate between what's protest speech and what's inflammatory, which is why we're joined right now by attorney Allie Menegakis from Clekis law firm for some legal perspective on our freedom of speech. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Great to have you here today. Okay, so what exactly does the First Amendment protect?
The First Amendment protects so many things. It protects our speech, right? Freedom of the press, like y'all, freedom of assembly, freedom to petition our government, freedom of religion. But when we're talking about it, when it comes to activism or protesting or the press, we're talking about speech, right? So it really protects not just like what you say, but what you do and your actions, as long as it doesn't get to a point where it's violent or hate speech.
And who is exactly protected under the First Amendment? Is it only U.S. citizens?
No, it's not. Actually, the Constitution says that it applies to all people. So all people on U.S. soil are protected by the First Amendment.
Are there certain laws here in Charleston that affect laws and speech like this?
Yeah, I mean, there's time, place, and manner restrictions when it comes to monitoring speech from our government, right? So each county, each city usually has some kind of local ordinance. Here in Charleston, actually, there are time, place, and manner restrictions, some that have been a bit controversial in recent years. One of them I think we talked about before, which requires you to get a permit if you are going to have any kind of assembly or protest that is more than 25 people.
Okay.
But there is an exception to that if it's some kind of breaking news. So if, for example, a war is declared or something big happens, then you have the right to go out and protest within 48 hours, obviously, because it's not soon enough to get a permit. But there's a lot of controversy about that, whether it's arbitrary, those number of hours, and there's been a good amount of arrests actually taking place in the last few years regarding that.
Can you talk a little bit more about that, about those speech-related arrests here in Charleston?
Yeah, and it's interesting. So historically, even after, the protests after the murder of George Floyd, there were protests downtown, some of them destructive and some peaceful, and law enforcement had, I think, arrested over 40 people back then in 2020 in that summer for disobeying a lawful order. So that was one of the first times that we saw in recent years of a mass scale arrest for people exercising their First Amendment right peacefully. So basically they were telling them to disperse, and the people did not want to, mostly young college students, and then they were arrested. In fact, a lot of them, they used pepper bullets, and they actually used force against a lot of those young people. Now, an interesting thing that we're seeing right now, actually in the state of South Carolina, is this new law that's being proposed that is likely going to pass that actually will make it a crime up to 60 days in jail if you come within 25 feet of law enforcement or emergency personnel that are exercising their duty. There has been some opposition to that bill, understandably, because it could be a slippery slope, right? It could be used just like we're seeing with this disobeying lawful order or the mask ordinance that we talked about recently, and also can affect the press, right? The press wants to be there to film, people want to be there to witness what's going on, and if there's a 25-foot, which may be considered arbitrary distance that's required from them, that might affect people's rights.
Alrighty, well, these are really interesting questions to ask right now in the times that we're living in. If you guys have any questions about any of this, you know who to call. Clekis Law Firm, that number is right there on your screen, 843-9000000, or go to clekis.com and you can learn more about these legal perspectives. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
Let the power of 9 million work for you.